Boom, just like that, boom, we are live. Thank you, technology, for allowing us to do that. We are live, everybody. Welcome to LinkedUp on LinkedIn. I'm Peter Clarke, Red TV, and we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and anything else.com. We're out there somewhere. Just find out what we're doing. Super pumped today. Always pumped to talk to very smart people. Always a little scared to talk to some very smart people because I don't consider myself that smart. So I just love the fact that we've tracked this person down. We've crossed paths a couple times, multiple times in person, or a couple times in person, multiple times online. This is an executive leader coach at a different level, everybody. Get your notepads out. Totally different. We're talking about an executive leadership coach, but she is also Forbes Coach Council. That's invitation only, by the way. Invitation only. Canada's top 100 most powerful women. Frightening with power. Lots of power out there. And she has more accolades, I'm certain. Accolades and accreditations than Kellogg's has cornflakes. That's a fact. I've checked it out. I've done the data on it. She even has time to do skiing, golfing, and piano playing. Come on. I mean, I feel like I'm underutilizing my life right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Jenn Lofgren, how are you?
I'm great, Peter. Thank you for that incredible introduction. So good to be here. Yeah.
Well, listen, I just read all that and I said, God, I got to get out more. I got to go. I got to go do more stuff. Good to see you. So appreciate you taking the time to join us and stuff. First question always is yourself and your family healthy? Everyone okay?
Yeah, everybody's great. Thanks for asking.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, if you got your health, we have it all, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. So yeah, it's been challenging times. So that's why I always jump here. Let me throw something at you right away, because I wanted to, I've done a lot of research on you and I know you. Well, I think I know you. So that's why I'm asking these questions. But I want to start with something coming out of left field. I'm a jewelry guy. I love bling. And you got this cool necklace you wear all the time. And you have it on right now as we speak, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, it's rock star stuff. I would need to know what it is. Tell me why is that so significant to you? Because it's almost part of your identity. Because every time I see you, it's like, that's what she wears. That's hers.
There's the necklace. It's always there. And thanks for asking about it. It actually is near and dear to me. This necklace was a gift from my husband. It's a Tiffany necklace, and you'll see that it's got a heart on it, and the heart was blank for many years, and it had the ability to have something inscribed on it. My husband would ask me, what are you going to put on it? I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. When I know, I'll just know. And then after I had my daughter, she was born, I knew what would go on it. And it says P and J and P. And I call it my PJP sandwich. It's Per and Jenn and Peyton. So I have my husband and my daughter on either side of me. And so I wear it all the time to always have my family with me.
Wow. I don't know. I'm speechless to that. I love that story. I did not know that, because when I was looking online and I see you speaking, when I see you do interviews in front of groups, you're leading groups and stuff, and in pictures and promo pictures and stuff, I was like, it's there all the time. And I was like, and it's super cool because it has one part of it's kind of the clip part. The other part hangs down. I'm getting too geeky now because I love that stuff. I love rock and roll stuff. Normally I have about 17 little bracelets on because I move my hands a lot when I'm speaking. It'd just sound like I'm rattling chains all day. So doing this, can you imagine doing this interview with a whole bunch of chains? It'd be totally different. I just put up your LinkedIn profile. I want to make sure everybody checks out Jenn. That's how you get a hold of Jenn directly. We're going to talk about her company in a second here. And I'm going to bring that up just because I want to walk through it. There's so much on there as opposed to me putting up a graphic. I mean, we just got to jump on your website for a second to show everybody what you're doing and so on. So I appreciate you joining us. Let's jump right there. 𝗫𝗫𝗄. Some people might say 𝗫𝗫𝗄. I know that happens sometimes, but it's 𝗫𝗫𝗄, everybody. 𝗫𝗫𝗄. That's the name of the company we're going to talk about. So let's just start right there for argument's sake, if you will. I'm going to jump to the website in a second, but tell us about your company. Just Cole's notes. We're in an elevator. There's 750 million people on LinkedIn. Let's assume somebody doesn't know you. Tell us a little bit about what 𝗫𝗫𝗄 is about.
Sure. We do executive and leadership development. We do one-on-one coaching and coaching with leadership teams. And what we do is we work on the mindset of leadership first and the skills and tactics second. I'm so passionate about helping people unlock the path to not only leadership development, but developing as a person first and a leader second. And That's
I agree. I love
the
that. A
core of,
person, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm thinking we're gonna dig in that a little bit, but I mean this. I mean, and I'm gonna say something. Don't hold it against me here, but I think leadership is one of those words right now that's just it's so used. It's so common, and it's not a common concept. So it's common sense. The concept of common sense is out there too, but it's not so common. But leadership has been one of those words that's been used in so many different contexts, especially over the last let's just say even the last 5 to 10 years, but this year specifically, the last 12 months or so, where we're saying, where are our leaders? Where are the leaders? Who's going to step up? All that stuff. So yeah, I like the idea that you said basically person first. So that's super, super important. Let me just throw up the website real quick so that we can kind of see. There she is. Look like rock stars. Look at that. See, look at the picture, everybody. There's that beautiful, that necklace we just talked about. Let me go up to the front here. So there's a website. Great job on the website, by the way. Okay, so fantastic. Good for you. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love the values: choice, curiosity, passion, challenge, humanity, partnership. I mean, come on. Any one of those is a show for you and me. We could sit and talk to a whole show about any one of those concepts. You have an executive team that works with you as well. So it's not just you there, but you are the founder of this organization. And I just wanted to emphasize to everybody, Jenn is there's three basic, there's three master certified coaches in Calgary, where she resides. There's only like 54 or so in Canada. I mean, congratulations to you on that. I mean, that's, I was just kind of playing around with the Kellogg's cornflakes thing, but let me tell you, you have more accreditations. And so you really dug into this. You didn't just go get a coaching program and start coaching. You dug right in deep. So where did that love for learning come from?
Oh gosh, I believe that if I'm there to help other people develop, then I need a commitment to my own learning and development, and a serious commitment to my own learning and development. And I think it comes from just being able to consider the choices I have in my own life and how I can control what lays ahead for me. And the path to that is continuing to grow and develop and learn myself. And that's what I look to help others do. But it all comes back to the ability to be empowered and make choices.
Absolutely. I'm just scrolling through your team. I want to give him, this is the quickest way to give everyone a shout out there. This guy looks familiar to me, Vince, by the way. I'll talk to you about that later. He looks familiar. I don't know why. Maybe I ran into him somewhere. I'm not sure. I can't see how a PhD and me would run into each other, places that I run into. But I just want to show everybody here your team. And again, just I'm so impressed with the accolades. I just want to make sure everyone understands. I'm not trying to go fast through this because we have so much to talk about. I want to jump to the services part. Creativity, inspire, again, it's really talking about working with the leader from a personal perspective. Would that be a fair assessment to start with? You want to know the person first, and then you go from there.
Yeah, because I'm not the founder of a company. I'm Jenn first. And any leader that we work with, they're a person first, a leader second. And you were talking about that we need more leaders in the world because of all the challenges going on. Well, leading is about stepping into that vulnerability and risk and uncertainty and having that person that's going to go first. And it takes a lot of development to be able to step off the cliff of whatever it is that's challenging and unknown on the other side. And that's where we dig in first.
I agree. I love that. I love that approach. I mean, just dig into the humanity part of it first. Let me go over the programs. I got to jump into this because, I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of someone called Brené Brown before, but anyway, I had to dig into some of these programs here that you are doing. So I didn't check with you just before we went on the air. I'm assuming because it's on your website, these are up and running and still programs that people can participate in, correct? I want to make sure that before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So here we're talking about Dare to Lead. I love this. Again, I was looking for the books, Jenn, earlier this morning. I found one of them. I know we have all of them here in house. I mean, our library is just, one of those libraries where you can find any one of these things about being better. So I found Rising Strong. I know that you've done a program on that as well, but Dare to Lead is another one. And well, there's two here. I'm going to show everybody here what we're talking about here. But Brené Brown, if anyone doesn't know Brené Brown, just again, Google that name. Very quickly, you'll find out. She's done a lot of stuff with Oprah, but she's also had an amazing TED Talk that launched her and so on. Tell us why you're so passionate about Brené Brown's philosophy, and here's why. Let me put it in the context for why I'm asking. So I'm trying to be kind with how I say this. I'm thinking that some people might think that, that kind of information and business almost don't come together now. And I mean that in a kind way. Is it fluffy leadership? So I threw that out there. I don't think that. I'm asking you, why is this kind of leadership so passionate as a part of your business?
Well, it started because it had a personal impact on me. And as I dug in more and figuring out how does it relate to leadership? And it took me a couple of years to figure it out. And stepping into being a leader is letting go of being an expert. Letting go of being an expert, when that's how I've created success in my life and my work and my leadership to this point, and now you want me to let go of it, that's the most vulnerable thing I can do. And leading is about making decisions where there's no right answers, and I might not be able to know the impact of that decision for months or years, or having a difficult conversation with someone and finding my way through, not knowing how they're going to respond. Or speaking up and offering out their idea to try and get our team unlocked and move something forward. There's vulnerability in all of those things. And it's really about that letting go of being the expert, and stepping into leadership is all about vulnerability.
Vulnerability. The way I said what I said earlier, and I wanted you to say that word. That's why I didn't want to go instantly into, empathy, compassion, vulnerability, these kinds of things. I just still believe that there's a large contingent of leaders out there that think vulnerability means weakness. Just jump on that for me. Jump on that for me.
It doesn't mean weakness. It's actually the first thing that I look for in a leader. But as a leader, it's the last thing I want you to see in me, because I can get into that story of I can be seen as weak when I admit my vulnerabilities. But it's exactly what creates opportunity and courage in other people to be able to step up into it. And I see you've got Rising Strong here on the screen. And it's not a matter of if, but when Brené Brown says that you will end up face down in the dirt in your work, in your life, in your leadership. Rising Strong is about getting back up 10 times when you've fallen down 9, and looking for the learning in whatever happened so that you can step out and play a bigger game next time, not a smaller game. Yeah. If that's not vulnerability, I don't know what is.
I agree. Listen. Hey, I'm just making sure I'm being a conduit for your message, because I believe that as well. I like one of the phrases I've often used in my mind, and I rarely had to say to somebody, but don't misplace my kindness for weakness. You can be kind and thoughtful, empathetic, compassionate, but it's not weak. And vulnerability is the same thing. It's like, I don't wake up and jump out of bed feeling like I can take on the world. I'm like everybody else. We all just have our own kind of journey of how we navigate. And sometimes you feel really vulnerable. You feel like, wow, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this to people, but carrying that stuff around is just so heavy. And I know I've learned in my life that I need to do more of that. And I'm thinking more leaders need to do that. So I just, and so I appreciate that, because I have the book here. That's why I knew that you did that. So I have the book here and stuff like that. Just reminds me I need to read it again, everything we're talking about. But one of the things I want to show everybody, because this is really cool, and I want to congratulate you on this as well, before we get into some more discussion here on Dare to Lead. When I go down to the bottom here, am I reading this right? Where is it here? Upcoming events and so on. Like, you have one sold out already? I mean, or has been, or was, and then now you got some more stuff coming up. Yeah,
we just had our February session. It was sold out. We had 20 leaders from 8 states and provinces across North America, and I led that one. Alana Peters on our team. She's our other certified Dare to Lead facilitator, and she's leading the one in May, and then I'm leading the one in September coming up.
Right on. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic. Because again, everybody, I mean, just because physically you can't get together, there's some amazing programs that you can get get involved, and that's just a couple I wanted to show to everybody. So congratulations on that. I love it. One of the things, I have conversations here, as you might have known, if you've tuned in, if anyone's tuned into the show, I talk to different people from all kinds of verticals of life, whether it's in sports and music and business, and leadership is still one of those things, and I mentioned it earlier. It's one of those words that I find extremely fascinating, because everyone likes talking about it. It's hard to practice. It's hard to get good at it. I'm wondering from you, I mean, you, again, with your credentials and all your experience, what is leadership to you? What does that mean? I mean, it's such an overused. What does leadership mean to you?
It means being the one that's willing to go first. It means the person that's willing to talk about the crazy story and what they think could be a year from now when we don't really know, and willing to take some first steps to make that future happen. But they're also the ones they're going to be first to say, hey, I think we're off course, and that's okay. And to make adjustments, whether it's to their course, the people, the processes, whatever it needs to be, that they're the one that gets to go first, and not to get all the accolades, but to help other people see what's possible, and then help them grow and develop into the people that they never imagined they could be, until somebody else shine a spotlight and help them see for themselves something even greater than what the leader could imagine for them.
Yeah, I see. This is why I do this, by the way. I love doing this, and this is why it's easy. And when I say easy, I mean, to get on camera and to talk and to do this kind of stuff. I understand it's not easy. It makes people feel uncomfortable, vulnerable, all that kind of stuff. But when I know I'm here to amplify you so that the audience would learn something, so from a leadership perspective, I get what you just said. It's about making others, lifting them up, pushing them up, having them stand on your shoulders, so that at the end of the day, you go, hey, you did good in the world, buddy. You did good in the world. I just like that. So I love that. You've been around so many different kinds of leaders in your career, all different verticals. You just talked about the geography of across North America, but also in different verticals of business and so on. So you've not only coached and consulted with them, but you've worked with them one-on-one, and you've been around a lot of them. You've probably researched a lot of them. You probably interviewed a lot of them. What are some of the traits? What are some of the traits that you've noticed just consistently of from the experiences that you've had that makes a good leader?
I think one of the most elusive words that I hear is executive presence.
Oh, okay, do tell.
And the best description I can give of executive presence that I have experienced is a leader that, in talking with me, was able to maintain eye contact and let go of all the other distractions in the room or virtual room. And I felt like I was the only person that was important to them in that moment.
Oh, wow. Wow. You can't tell. Don't tell. You know what? Let me just throw one liner at you. I had a great experience with Richard Branson. That's exactly what I describe to people when they say, what's he like? I said, when you're in his presence, he's with you. He's with you. And I'm like, wow. And you feel it. So I understand that's why I was like, wow, I understand what you mean by that. So when you say executive presence, sometimes people feel that that's a physical thing. You walk in, you look a certain way, you act a certain way, but you're talking about something a little bit more intimate here with the eye contact and the presence. Expand on that.
Yeah. I mean, all those other things are about respect in dressing for the context that you're walking into, but that in itself doesn't create executive presence. It's not about the clothes. It's about that, like you said, that intimate connection. And the best experience I had to give you an example was actually with Simon Sinek. In standing in a long line, 300 people long. I was one of the first 10 people to get my book signed, and asked if Simon would mind if a colleague would take our photo. And he says, absolutely. And he walks out from behind the table, up in front, and he starts having a conversation with me. He says, let's take a picture. We take a picture. He's still talking to me. He said, Simon, I think there's a few people here that would like to also talk with you.
Do that.
And he says, oh, right. It was really lovely meeting you. And I could have talked to him all day, and it was me that encouraged him to also move on to make time for someone else. And I watched him, and he was just as present with every single person he spoke with next.
Wow, that is an incredible trait. That's an incredible trait. So you went instantly right to one of those intangible ones. And I'm wondering which ones, or maybe one or two that jump out at you, that's certainly overrated when you say traits. So, for example, the ability to pound your fist on a table and command a room is probably not one of those traits. But give me a couple examples of maybe what people are not connecting with when I talk about traits, or when you talk about traits of a great leader.
Oh, decisiveness.
Mm.
Making decisions where there's no right answers, because that's the realm of leadership, is making decisions that have never been made before. And not making reckless decisions, but making decisions on what's enough information and what's enough time, and then making a decision trusting there's just a next decision. Another trait is getting past the 30 top strategic priorities and identifying the top 3 to focus on, or the top 1 to focus on, and trusting that the other ones will come along with, or that you can go back to them and pick them up and make them your next area of focus. That takes a lot of courage and vulnerability. And there's not going to be a right answer, again, in which ones. The other side of it is stepping into having hard conversations, and a lot of hard conversations, again and again and again, to become better together, not to fix anyone else, but to step into the unknown and embrace the conversations wherever they may lead, rather than trying to do it myself. Right. Or to hope that the situation will get better on its own, or that the other person will come around over time, to step into those conversations quickly and with courage, but with also without attachment to forcing a certain outcome.
Yeah, for being attached to the outcome, more attached to the process. Be attached to the I like that too. I like, it's very similar to the creative arts, by the way, whether it's believe it or not, songwriting, or if you get caught up in the outcome, and wondering what people are going to think and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to staying focused on the process and staying present, as you said, have that presence of mind, and with people, it always goes in a better direction. I think it does anyway, but I love where you were going with that. I want to throw up a couple. I always want to make sure, there's people watching you from all over the world. You know that, right? So I just want to make sure you know that, because there's always cool people in the house. Look at this, 𝗵𝗺𝗏𝗍𝗵. How are you? Good to see you, man. That's fantastic. This guy, Rockstar, he's always tuning in and appreciating the stuff that we're doing. Michael Ray.
Oh, Michael. Hey, Michael.
There you go, Michael. Jenn, Michael. Michael's out of Kentucky. He has the Smile Project, Louisville. Maddie Moo, come on, peace and love there, right? How do you go wrong with that? Unbelievable. So I appreciate you being here as well. Absolutely. Here, Peter just mentions about the dare to fail and reset again. We just talked about that. I think we're getting back to the daring greatly, which is really, really cool. Looking hey, this is somebody you might know. Who's that? There's Alana Peters.
There's Alana from our team. Hey, Alana.
That's fantastic. So she's looking forward to the event in May, right? There we go.
We're so excited about that.
Oh, and here's some about 𝗂𝗏. Always look me in the eye when extending his hand. Talking about 𝗂𝗏, of course, the retired CEO, and what an amazing businessman in general, just a business person. I like what Peter said here. Look me in the eye when extending his hand. Both leaders, and as did Michael Rousseau. Both leaders. So to your point about having Simon make you feel like you're in contact with directly, and you're the only person right there. I'm wondering, one of the things about leadership we should be always referencing is, it's easy to celebrate, obviously, the wins. You can't get to the mountain without the valley, so we got to talk about some of the valleys. What do you think some of the common mistakes of some of those leaders that you've either worked with, you've coached, consulted with, maybe been through one of your programs, maybe some of the common ones, just generally speaking, at the highest level, the C-suite level? What kind of common mistakes are you seeing in your craft?
Trying to go it alone. Trying to do everything on their own and having the right answers we already talked about, but trying to go it alone.
Yeah, not team building. So team building. I know that I talk a lot about team building here because again, it's fun to talk to general managers of NHL teams, or leaders that are building sales teams or market, whatever they're doing. You have to build a team, and it's funny. Every leader I speak about, that's the first thing they go to is that if I didn't have my team, and if I can't build a good team of people that are smarter than me, surround myself with the talk about that real quick, because I didn't put it up specifically, but team building, how important is that for leaders today? You just talked about don't go it alone. So,
well, I think it's critical, because you can't execute on everything on your own and doing that team building. But I'd also add the external team building, having those mentors or having external peers and having a support team around you to offer you different perspectives and challenge you both internally and externally. Otherwise, you end up with a bunch of executives on your team that do their own thing, but you still struggle to achieve business results. And you end up with challenges around employee engagement, and you can't explain why. Well, you don't even have it within your own team. If you can't get it going with each other in a smaller group, it's going to be incredibly hard to pervade the rest of the organization.
Yeah, to let it trickle down and get buy-in, and so on, especially today where everyone's remote. I mean, that's another, we're going to get to that in a minute, believe it or not. So yeah, there's a lot of common mistakes that I've recognized. Just, I'm going to tell you a phrase that I love using a lot. It could be applicable. I think it's Maya Angelou who said, just watch what people do. They'll tell you who they are. And when they show you the first time, believe them. So I always love that. I just watch, not what you say, I just watch what you do. So I always do that on social media as well. You just watch what people post, what they talk about. Is it uplifting? Is it inspiring? Is it going somewhere else? The intention behind it, like Wayne Dyer, The Power of Intention. So that's why, again, Brené Brown books, Wayne Dyer books, they're all found here. If anyone needs them, they're here in this house. There's something that I've read. First of all, you read. Of course she reads. Jenn actually writes. She's part of the Forbes Council, which is just, I mean, seriously, that's invite only. So that's very cool stuff. So you're connected with an amazing group of people there. And of course, the brand of Forbes, speaks of business and that kind of mindset. In an article you wrote, you talked about something that I experience every day, and I think almost everyone experiences, especially now, because we had to do this. We had to transform ourselves to be more online, Zoom calls, all these kinds of things. Imposter syndrome. I know that you wrote about that. And so, and interestingly, which I didn't know, that the stats suggest that women, up to 70% of women experience that. So more women seem to experience it than men. I don't know how accurate that is, but it seemed to suggest that women certainly feel that when it comes to leadership roles. Let's talk about that a little bit. You said that. Why do you think that is? Why do you think women might be experiencing, first of all, imposter syndrome? Talk about that, but why are women experiencing it, or seemingly more?
I don't know. I don't have the research behind it, so it's just my opinion that I think it's from socializing in the communities around us and how we're growing up and what we're experiencing school and in the workplace, and our socialization and upbringing as young men or women that can influence that. And it's not a great deal more. It is slightly more that we see in the research that women experience it slightly more than men, but a vast majority of us experience imposter syndrome. But the challenge is with imposter syndrome is, it's like Brené Brown and shame. Shame relies on us telling ourselves a story we're the only one. So does imposter syndrome. We don't want anybody to know I'm the only one. And I think what's helpful about learning about imposter syndrome is the realization that we're not the only one. And that in itself starts to dissipate it.
It's so hard to believe, though, isn't it? I mean, I'm telling you, I just, because I know this from experience, private messages or whatever, people who might tune in to watch something I do. If I play music, for example, I'm pretty confident and comfortable is probably the better word. And they're saying, oh, you're so confident. And I'm thinking, God, if they ever knew what was going into my brain, I mean, they would go, I can't believe you think like that. But I feel it a lot. Sometimes you feel like, if people knew what was going on in my small voice, would they be so respect? It's the idea of, hey, if your inner voice was ever amplified and broadcasted, would you be proud of it? That's the question.
I think we saw a lot about that in an old 90s TV show, Ally McBeal. And we started hearing that inside voice projected outside for the first time. But then we also could relate to, oh, she didn't say that.
Did I say that out loud?
Now I'm not the only one. I now see it reflected in someone else that's feeling the same way. And I have to say, it's sometimes daily, if not weekly. It happens often where I have this moment of, I don't know if I know what I'm doing. And then that just to check in, and it's okay. And self-compassion and going to that place of, and it's okay not to know. And it's okay to figure it out, and it's okay to be learning, because if we're not learning in this life, I think we start dying a little bit. So you're not meant to have it all figured out.
Yeah, if you're not learning, you're not growing. You're not growing. You're either growing or you're dying. There's no in between with that. It's like a plant. There's no in between with that. That's what's interesting about imposter syndrome as well, is that at the C-suite level, I think we always look at these leaders and think that because maybe that's their presence, as you talked about, that they do have it. Like, it's just hard to believe that Simon Sinek, whoever you pronounce Sinek, would have an imposter syndrome. I'm going to guess he doesn't, but I mean, is it possible? I wonder. That's what it's just hard to believe when you say everyone does. I'm like, there's no way. But let's pretend that everyone does. Let's give it to, we know that the average person does. So let's talk to everybody that is in certain roles in their lives and may feel like that. What advice do you give to some of the C-suites you work with, or leaders that you work with, about imposter syndrome? What kind of tips would you give them, or advice?
Well, the first one is recognize that you're not the only one. And the next is, how are you talking to yourself, and noticing that inner talk. From there, acknowledging what you're doing well, not just the things, and it's easy for us, it's natural for us to focus on the things that we're not doing well, or to have some self-doubt, but to acknowledge your strengths. I was working with one leader this week on a leadership development plan and feeling really stuck about all the things that were on the develop list and ignoring what was on the strengths list. And even out of a 360, ran through the strengths very quickly and focused on the negative. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's go to all these strengths. Those are actually the answer to the development area, and using those strengths from a little bit different perspective. And it's not fluff and motherhood and apple pie. As we dug in, that leader could see, oh, yeah, they are the key to uncovering and developing in these other areas. If I leverage these strengths and step into some vulnerability with them, and then layer on a few other skills to go with, I can make that happen. But the first step is recognizing that you're not the only one, and then stepping into that self-compassion, that it's okay to be learning, or okay to feel uncertain.
Yeah, and again, I think it's been amplified because of what we've had to do over the last 12 months of being able to communicate. I mean, we're obviously not walking into boardrooms where you can sit in the back of the room, or you're not walking into town halls and you can sit in the back and grab a coffee and just listening. Now you're put on screen, you're asked to turn your mic on or off, and you have to kind of show up and perform. And then, and when I say perform, I mean, you're bringing something, some sort of value. And then when you're doing that, you think, wow, I'm thinking people see right through me. They think this is not me, but it is you, because if you're expressing it, I mean, you can normally tell the authenticity. I feel I can anyway. I mean, you can sort of tell when people are trying to be as authentic as they can in that conversation, to and they're not trying to be something, which is that imposter feeling, or actually that's the execution of being an imposter right there. So no, those are great tips, and this idea that you're not alone, just making sure you're connected with that. Their leadership challenges are just have been magnified and amplified over the, obviously for the last 12 months or so. I think it's been longer than that. I think COVID has just exposed stuff. I think I might have even heard you say that once, but I don't think COVID has actually caused, other than the medical stuff, everybody, I'm not referring to the economic stuff. I'm talking about, I think it has exposed a lot of things about humanity and about people. Yeah. Right? It's not just said, oh, this happened because of COVID. It's like, no, I just kind of found out now because of COVID, generally speaking.
Well, and there's one that I've heard over and over, is that because of COVID, the world is now more uncertain. No way.
No.
We're no more at risk today of having a pandemic than we were before COVID. The world is not more uncertain. We're just now confronted more with the reality that was easier to brush aside and tell ourselves more of a story that the world is more certain. And we are now more aware than ever how volatile and uncertain the world really is. And there's a next layer. It's more volatile and uncertain than even we can imagine right now. But with COVID, it's been revealed a little bit more to us, and we can't unknow that.
Yeah, you can't unring the bell. I mean, that's the thing. You can't unring the bell. You've heard it, right? So it's like, okay, you heard the bell, you rung it. I just want to throw up a couple more comments here. There's all kinds of cool stuff coming in here, which is great. People are so kind. Look at this. There's your friend there talking about vulnerability, humanity in this conversation. Oh, well, we appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. Peter, I appreciate this. Is imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy, that's for sure, that persist despite evident success. They suffer from chronic self-doubt. Listen, I'm just going to throw my hat in there, just so everyone knows. Always, my voice is always critical on myself. I mean, it's just, I don't know about you, Jen, but I mean, all day long. Sense of intellectual fraudulence. Yes, that. Like, I know I have a limited vocabulary. I know about 2,500 words, I'm sure of it, that override any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. So again, you know, we're all kind of measuring this. Am I good enough? You know, basically, am I good enough? You know, that's.
And who gets to decide? When do you have enough evidence that you're good enough? And continually chasing that isn't going to get you there. It actually does the opposite with imposter syndrome. And I like to call that voice we were talking about in the head, I like to call it the 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗏 because we've all got one, and it's got nothing good to say. But I also believe that it's got good intentions. It's trying to keep you safe. Sometimes I also call it your inner security guard. It's got poor training, horrible training, the security guard. It does have good intentions to try and keep you safe. It's sometimes so safe it keeps you on the sidelines of what you want most, and can leave you crushed in the process. So if you can recognize that it's just got a good intention and it's got poor training, then it also helps you find other ways to manage it.
Oh, that's a snippet I'll use for an outtake from this show right there. Boom. That's, as Oprah would say, that's a tweetable moment right there. Appreciate that. It's fantastic. Hey, and 𝘭𝗫𝗄𝗏 is here joining us. Hey, 𝘭𝗫𝗏.
Hey,
I know
Kelly.
who 𝘭𝗫𝗏 is. And do you know Kelly? I think
I don't know Kelly, but
you do now. Kelly,
want to get to know
Jenn
Kelly
Kelly.
now.
There you go. It can also be form of reality test. Yeah, which needs to be balanced with self-confidence. Absolutely. I think we've all been through this. I mean, this is why it's probably a very relatable conversation. Let me throw, we're going to go down this path now. I want to take you down another path here. And it's really just, it's pulling from your experience. Again, I think the challenges of 2021 are here. They're on top of us right now. We're already in March, which I can't believe. I mean, can you believe that? We're almost done the first quarter, 90 days. I don't know where that goes. I have no idea where it goes. But you know, we have leadership challenges. So you being a leadership expert and executive coach and you consult with leaders and so on. I want to walk through just some. I've done a ton of research on this. I continue to do this for myself. I hope everyone does. You go and find out, you know, what is on top of mind for leaders today, whether it's political or business leaders or leadership in general. What's top of mind and what are some of the new realities of things that they're dealing with? So I want to throw a couple up here and just ask you to comment on them and maybe filter them through your company, your experience, the types of things that you talk to leaders about. So one of the things that I've noticed out there is this new normal. Everyone talks about that nothing is going to be the same again. How do we deal with that as a leader going into the thought that, man, we're never going back to the same. We're never going back.
I think it starts with accepting that there is no normal, that the only thing that's normal is constant change, and that's your role, is to help people accept where they are right now and make choices of what they have control over and what part they play in whatever's next. It's easy with this nothing will be the same to get into a victim mindset and there's nothing we can do and everything's hopeless, and shift to that choice mindset of what's my part and what am I creating next.
Yeah, we've heard the new normal and stuff, and like you said, I think we're doing what all large events in the world do. Whether it's, you can go back to historical things in our modernity here, like whether it's 9/11 or a crash. When you started your business, it was 2009, if I'm not mistaken. So hey, perfect time, but it was a perfect time actually.
It was
right. So you just
didn't feel like it. Did not feel like it at the time, but the best crash course in business development was starting a business in a downturn to learn to build deep, real, authentic relationships. Anybody can start a business in a boom and capitalize on easy sales and opportunity that's knocking at their door. But how do you go and figure out where you fit and where you really create value? That was the big gift for me in starting in a downturn.
Wow. Yeah, you started that in 2009. That was why I threw it out there, people. That she started a company. You come from an HR background. I know that. Again, I'm asking everyone to go to her profile. You'll see the experience is at a different level, which is really cool because if you come from HR, you have that vertical of understanding, organizations and how important, getting the right people in the right seat on the bus and all that stuff and how people. So bringing that into coaching and leadership. Bravo. Super well done. I appreciate that. Hey, let's just jump to so many things here I want to get to. Look at this. No, remote work will be necessary and expected. And I think I'll just throw one liner out there that the idea of you have to come into the office is probably now been debunked. And most people are going to probably think that I don't really need to go in there anymore. So I'm wondering how leaders are going to deal with the idea that remote work is going to be a natural part of moving forward.
I'm seeing two sides of that. One is an organization that had a no work from home policy before COVID, and now they're reevaluating their use of real estate, and they have identified roles that will never return to work because they've identified that those roles, those people, or anyone that is in that role in the future is actually more effective working remotely. The other side I'm hearing is leaders that are really struggling getting their brain around this. How do we hold people accountable? And how do we deal with strategy and collaboration in this new environment, and having to do a lot of learning around what does that mean, whether it's a hybrid approach or something else. They're still finding their way and trying to figure out what that means for them in the organization.
Yeah, I here's what I'm thinking. You're an HR person, so I'm wondering. I mean, the idea now that a employee feels that they should be able to go to an employer to say, "Listen, I no longer kind of want to come into work physically anymore." And when someone says from an HR perspective, "Well, you have to," the rebuttal could be, "Well, when I couldn't, we made it work. So obviously we can." So I'm wondering from an HR perspective, how is that going to play out? Just, quickly from your experience, how's that going to play out when someone says, "Hey, I worked from home and it was okay when I couldn't come in. So let's keep going." What do you think of that?
I think it depends on the jurisdiction and where you are, because there's so much legislation that varies from place to place. But when it comes to the employment contract that you had, if it was for in person, then it's for in person. What I'd encourage both leaders and team members to do is sit down and have a partnership conversation to look at what makes sense and what doesn't, but to really dig into the why behind it. Not just because I prefer to work from home or I prefer you to be in the office, but what makes sense to create the best outcomes for everyone, including the organization.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, there's going to be interesting conversations for sure. Leading teams, leaders that have to lead them virtually or remotely. You're not in someone's face. You're not able to drop by the desk and grab a coffee. You're not. All of that now is done this way. What's some of the challenges you see coming forward with that? Because that's not going away. That's not going away.
No, it's not. And I think the challenges I'm hearing is I feel disconnected from my team, and yet I see teams and leaders in one-on-one meetings that everybody's got their cameras off. Turn your cameras on. We don't build relationships without seeing each other's eyes. We talked about that with executive presence. You gotta see people, even if you don't really want to be on camera. You know what? You put on clothes to go to work, and you're presentable for whatever your workplace is. When you go in person, same thing. Get ready for your day and find a way to be on camera, even if you're uncomfortable. It's something to be practiced and develop over time, because we build relationship when we can see each other, and seeing their eyes is number one. And the other is you can find different ways to replace those informal interactions. They're not the same. You can still have informal interactions. And one that a lot of teams I've been talking with are bringing on is using a group chat, maybe in teams, and having not just one-to-one texting conversations. Those are helpful, but also a team chat for the different kinds of teams that you're a part of. That is a way to engage in some of that informal conversation, or indicating that you're available in whatever platform that you're using, so that people know that they can swing by and they can say, "Hey, do you have time for a 5-minute call right now?" You got to reach out and ask a little bit more, because you can't see, but there's things you can do to make your availability visible. And there's little ways that you can reach out and engage in that informal conversation.
Yeah, again, leading remotely, leading over
Yeah.
distance, being able to do that is going to be a skill. Well, it is a skill. I think it can be practiced. I think it can be learned. I think. I mean, leadership itself is something you have to work at too. Speaking of that, speaking of being able to bring people together over space and time. By the way, bringing over space and time. I asked a good friend of mine to join us in this conversation, and I wasn't sure if I could get him, but it's funny he's showing up like right now during we're talking about leading teams virtually. Now here's a guy who's led a lot of teams, and I'm hoping that he's coming in with some great value to share with us and with you, Jenn, because I really wanted to just to bring these two awesome leaders together right there. Duncan Bureau, my fine friend, all the way from Abu Dhabi. I mean the UAE. How are you, my fine friend?
Hey, I'm good. I've been enjoying listening to Jenn and couldn't agree more with everything she's saying. So I think we're pretty much aligned here. So I don't know why you need me on the call. You've got a perfect expert here already. So
hey, listen, appreciate that. Oh, it's true. She is. She's that. I want to bring two great minds together. So Jenn, I don't know if you ever met Duncan before, and Duncan played major leadership roles in the aviation industry for the last 25 years. Air Canada, WestJet.
Let's go 10. That way I don't, the gray hairs. 10, but exactly. I like to go 10.
Oh no, okay, fantastic. So I'm just again, I speaking of leadership, Duncan, I knew I had Jenn here, and Jenn is like, again, her certifications are just above and beyond. So I'm just wondering, and you have led some amazing teams across all kinds of different verticals of business, whether it's sales and operations and so on. Maybe something from your perspective on leadership and leading remotely. Maybe you can add to the fodder here.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is I'm a big believer in executive coaching. So, I've had an executive coach for many years in my career, and I think anyone who's running big organizations always can benefit from having an executive coach. So I love what Jenn and people like Jenn do. I think it's helped my career. It's certainly helped everyone that I've worked with. And I've brought executive coaches in for guys that, when I say guys, my team, in terms of development. So I've always been a huge fan of executive coaching because I think it just adds so much value and someone to bounce ideas off of. So love the idea that executive coaches are doing so well and actually becoming more and more prominent in boardrooms and organizations. So that's a great thing. In terms of leading teams globally, like I've led teams globally for most of my career. So, I've had people in Australia and Asia and the Middle East and in Europe, and trying to coordinate not just time to get in front of those people, because clearly, you're trying to get in front of as many people as possible. We had organizations with 30,000 people in it across the globe, and whether that was on the operations side, the sales side, the marketing side, finance, whatever, just trying to get everybody aligned and trying to build those relationships. And one thing Jenn said earlier was about relationships and turn on the camera. And I really like that. The fact is, you do want to have that opportunity to see the whites of their eyes. As one CEO used to say to me, he wants to see the whites of my eyes so that he understands what's going on in our business. And so, that was 𝘾𝙗ℎ𝗵, who I think is one of the best CEOs on the planet. And I had a great opportunity to work with him, and he always had these meetings every week in Montreal, and just because he wanted to see the whites of our eyes as he's talking about the business. And I have a huge amount of respect for him. So I love what Jenn was saying about relationships. And at the end of the day, people do business with people they like. And whether that's internally or externally, the opportunity to build a relationship with your team and build relationships with customers is so incredibly important. So my camera's always on, and it doesn't matter. And you always got to prepare yourself. And Jenn's 100% right. Even though you're at home, don't put on a pair of shorts, put on a pair of pants, and this is your office. And the amount of times we see guys standing up and ladies standing up and they're wearing shorts or sandals or something else that they would never wear at the office in a million years, or present themselves that way. Present yourself as if you're going to work every single day. And I think it's a mindset, and it prepares you to lead and be part of a leadership team. And from talking to your boss, I don't want to stand up and have Galen or some other senior executive see me in my shorts. That's not really that's not the image that I want to project. So I agree with everything that Jenn has been saying. And again, leading teams around the world is not new. We've been doing it for many, many years. And it used to be by the phone, and now we have the opportunity to see people's faces, which I think is much, much better. So, as an aviation guy, I think this internet thing is a fad. And so I don't think it's going to last long.
Sure. Exactly. You know, the kids, wait till the kids.
People are going to need to get on airplanes, and they're going to need to buy my seats for whatever airline I'm with. That's the only way to do business is in front of someone and get on an airplane and fly around the world. That's my advice. That's
very true. Jenn, I just want to throw in, I want to jump on what Duncan said about the fact that he's always used a leadership coach or a coach in general. I guess you get that. I'm going to ask if you get that a lot. I'm going to guess there's a lot of people out there say, do I really need a coach? I mean, there's so much out there. I'll just, I'll learn, I'll read some books, I'll watch some videos. I don't really need to work with a coach. It feels almost therapeutic and I don't need to go down that route. What would you say to that? Because Duncan obviously has proved otherwise by bringing it into his teams.
As long as it's working for you, you don't need a coach. But anytime it's not working, let's talk.
Right. I think there's an ego. Yeah.
I almost take it. I almost disagree with that, Jenn. I think every leader needs that sort of that shoulder and that voice on the shoulder and that coaching and that mentoring. It doesn't matter how good you are as a leader. I always think that just having someone who is on your side and coaches, in my view anyway, the coach is kind of on your side as a leader to make sure you're balanced, you're looking at things, in the right way. And that objective view from a coach to me has always been extremely helpful. And it doesn't matter how seasoned a manager you are. I think everyone needs a coach.
I absolutely agree with you. But if I'm going to convince you need a coach, then you're going to dig in more into why you don't. And so you've got to be ready to, if your arms folded, I don't need a coach. If I make you wrong, then you're going to want to coach even less and to meet you where you are. And that's my approach of, if things are really working well for you, then who am I to argue? But if there's things that aren't working well for you, then I'm here to be a support and be that sounding board and not have the right answers, but to help you work your way through it and create something new on the other side. But again, if I'm going to convince you of it, then you're not ready. Now's not the right time for you. You got to be ready.
Right. Yeah. Have you had that conversation, Jenn? Have you actually had that conversation with someone at a C-suite level and say, here, I'm not here to persuade you, sell you, shape you, mold you. I'm here to help you. And if you're not ready for my help, then I need to go on to the next person who actually is looking for that help. You've had those conversations?
I had one of those conversations just a couple of weeks ago with a CEO, and in doing some work with the organization, I just said, hey, listen, I don't know if you need coaching right now, but I know if we uncover some things in this process and you're not open to it, then it can create greater harm than good in the organization if you're not willing to also work on your own parts. And if we get there and there's some things that we uncover that aren't working well, are you open to it? And he said, absolutely. And further through our discussions has now tabled himself some more questions about how coaching may be helpful to move things forward on some of the things he's challenged with, but letting him explore it on his own terms rather than saying, no, but you have to.
Right.
No, understood. It's interesting. When I first was introduced to my coach, I thought, what? I don't need a coach. I was cocky, I was young, and I was an executive at a young age. And I'm like, I got here by myself. What do I need a coach for? But you know what? It was the greatest thing that ever happened in my career. And, I probably was the guy sitting there across the table at that first meeting. And then, once I started listening to him and, really questioning myself as a leader and, thinking, hang on a second here, I could totally benefit. I played a lot of sports, had coaches in sports. How's it any different? And the fact is they, in my view, deliver tremendous value, self-reflection, and it really humbles you because you're talking to someone who really has A, your best interests at heart as a leader, and then B, wants you to develop and bring up your team in a way that's just accretive to any organization that you're working with. So I have nothing but great things to say about executive coaches.
Fantastic. See, Jenn, I told you I'd find you. I find you somewhere around the world, somebody who believes in what we're talking about today.
You have to go all the way to Rotterdam.
Duncan, listen, buddy, if you want to stick around, if you can stick around in the green, if you can stick around, I'd love to bring you back on. I would love for you to stick around because there's more subjects to be covered here and stuff. But Jenn, I wanted to put you two together, and I know somewhere on LinkedIn you guys can get together. Duncan, I'll be right back with you, buddy. I appreciate you being here. That's for sure. So, hey, I just thought it was just kind of cool bringing in another part of the world for you, Jenn. Hey,
thank you.
That's what we do. That's what we do here. We're trying to use all our technology to keep us all connected. There's the example of leading again online. I mean, you have to be able to reach out to people different time zones. And this is 10, 12 hours into the future here where Duncan is. So that's another example of what we're talking about leading when we're talking about the new norms, virtually, remotely, and so on. Let's keep going through that list here. And because I know your time is limited, that's for sure. And I want to take full advantage of your time. Leading with empathy and compassion. I mean, I know that's empathy and compassion is vulnerability, all that kind of stuff. What do leaders need to keep in mind as we move forward with that?
Well, I think leading with empathy has become a bit of a buzzword lately, or a common phrase, and there's been a lot of confusion around what it really means. And leading with empathy doesn't mean that you have no boundaries. It means that you actually have more. And it doesn't mean that you agree with the other person. It means that you listen and you consider and integrate what you've heard. And it may influence your decisions. It also may not. But what's important is to truly listen and accept that the other person's story and experience is a truth. It may not be the truth, but it is at least 2% truth. It is a truth. And then compassion. Compassion is compassion for the other person, that they're okay, but also compassion for self, that I'm okay, and that nobody needs fixing, but everybody needs to be understood and to have their experience reflected back to them.
Oh, I like that. Not everybody needs fixing, but everyone needs to be understood. Wow, I like that. I like that. Again, I'm going to cut that one out just so you know. That's a good one. I love that one. How about this one? Crisis management, the idea of these giant things like COVID, like a pandemic, like an economic crash, or things that are causing us a great stress, if you will, in our economic system. Crisis management. How are leaders going to, what kind of insights can you give about the idea that they always have to now start preparing for the next big crisis?
There's being prepared for a next big crisis, but then having some, again, boundaries around it, because you just can't prepare for everything. And it can take you into preparation paralysis, really, and not focusing on moving forward, whatever it is that you're creating into the future in your organization or your teams or your personal impact. If you're spending all your time preparing for all the bad things that could happen, right, having some well-laid plans, and then continuing to move forward and focusing more on creating than being ready to react, and not being, again, reckless and not having any preparation, but finding whatever that gray line is of enough, but not to the point of paralysis. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's
not easy.
Paralysis by analysis, as they, that kind of thing. You're always planning. You're always in the plan mode. You're never in the doing mode, And I love that too. I talk to my beautiful wife, Renuka, about that. It's always about motion. Motion creates emotion. So just keep moving forward. Don't be paralyzed with fear and uncertainty and so on. Prepare for things, but you can't literally plan for them all the time. They're going to show up. Collaboration versus competition. I think this is going to play out in multiple different ways because of this, about the virtual part. I think people are, again, because we're disconnected physically, can we be as collaborative as we want to be? And are we going to find ways to, nickel and dime within ourselves to be a little bit too competitive internally as well? How's that going to play out for leaders that are trying to keep those two things at bay?
Well, I think this goes to the mindset of scarcity versus abundance. Those with us with a mindset for scarcity are going to be competing with one another, and it's a view of that there's not enough. And collaboration is there's an abundance, and if we work together, and I'm an expert, or I'm in my lane, and you're an expert and you're in our lane, but together we collaborate, then we all benefit way more than any of us would on our own. And I'm seeing this in all the organizations that I serve on boards for, that they're starting to move more and more to looking at collaborative partnerships to manage in this volatile world that's we've become more aware than ever and how uncertain it is, but to look at how do we create more for one another by collaborating together and create greater abundance, not less.
Oh, we'll talk about this another time. Scarcity and abundance mindset. Oh my gosh, that's a show in itself right there. That is a show in itself. How about this one? Here's another one that I'm thinking a lot of leaders are going to have to try to figure out how to hold the bottom line, or what they're actually mandated to do is grow the bottom line. That's going to be a challenging mindset when we're doing it remotely. Or is it? I mean, in some businesses, I think the vertical will be easier than others. Obviously, if you're running an airline and people aren't putting their butts in a seat and flying somewhere, it's hard to hold the bottom line. So I'm wondering your thoughts on talking to C-suites about, how are they going to move forward with that mindset when we're doing it remotely?
I think this is like innovating anything else in your business. And this is a forced innovation like anything else that you've encountered. It's you've got constraints around you, and what do you do within those constraints, and letting go of how things were. And sometimes it's like looking at Airbnb. They've gone and disrupted their whole business. They've realized that they're in the experience business. They're not in the alternative hotel business. They're in an experience business and looking at other ways to create experiences and letting go of only being in the Airbnb matching business. So that's, I think, where leaders need to go around this. How do I grow the bottom line remotely is what might need to change and grow and evolve through innovation in the organization. Not just how do we do the same thing remotely, but what do we need to do that's different to serve out our core purpose as an organization?
Yeah, see, I like that. I like you said, we're maybe it's the refocus of what the mission and vision is of the company, and determine if that can physically fit into the vertical of, can we execute this remotely, or maybe it's just messaging. I think there's so many factors in there that you just brought up. I think it's fascinating. I'm going to move away from some of these leadership things. Before we do that, Duncan, I know you're sitting in the back there. I just wanted to, because you mentioned Airbnb, Jenn, so I just wanted to ask, because Duncan's in that world, what do you think of just what Jenn said there, Duncan? I'm wondering what you're thinking about this idea of, travel tourism, because she mentioned Airbnb. So travel tourism, like she said, they had to refocus on the idea that they're not in the selling of rooms, they're in experience business. For you as an executive, about holding and growing the bottom line remotely, how does that play out for you thinking going forward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all need to rethink our businesses in the current environment, right? And so we really need to challenge ourselves. What is it we're delivering? And so, as an airline, it's not. I think historically we felt that we were taking people from A to B, and the reality is we're creating experiences. And what we're trying to sell is experience. And so, changing the mindset and creating confidence of the traveler that it's okay to travel again. And in fact, we're all nomadic and we all want to experience things. We've all got these things in life that we want to do. And so if we change our language that we use within the travel business about creating experiences, much like what Airbnb did and a number of different disruptors in our space did, I think the entire industry benefits. And so as a carrier, as an airline, I'm selling experiences. And so we want to sell memories and create memories for people. And that's really what we need to use that vernacular. We don't need to use, hey, historically we used to use terrible acronyms, right? So, we use terrible PAX, like you refer to as a customer as a PAX. That's not a great endearing term, right? So, WestJet and Southwest started using the word guest and, treating people like they were a guest in their home. And hotels have been using that term for many, many years, right? And so I think airlines, whether it's hotels, whether it's Uber, whoever, we all have to rethink our business and, how do we find ways to increase margin and at the same time create demand, because right now demand is the issue, and how do we create confidence? And so, we have to work across different sectors of travel that we never really thought of working with before. So airlines, yes, we worked with airports, but we never really worked with airports, right? So now it's about how do we both ensure that customer experience throughout the entire travel is safe, and work collectively as an industry holding hands to make sure that the traveler feels safe at every touch point.
And coming back to that collaboration we were talking about, Peter.
Yeah, right. I mean, Duncan, you just nailed it right there. The collaboration versus competition. How at one time maybe we were in different verticals, maybe we were not necessarily competitors, but we certainly weren't collaborating. And now we need to kind of go in the direction.
There's a word I like to use, which is co-opetition, right? So we're competing, but the fact is we're also we have to work together. So so I like to use the word co-opetition, and so to me that's really that's how I describe it. Is we all got to work together and we all got to cooperate.
And we all have to have our own lane. And working together, what's my role? What's your role? And I like that word around co-opetition. It's not to remove the competition piece, but to collaborate while we all still have our own distinct area, and we can still compete, but with that view of abundance and collaboration both together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Love that. Love that word, Duncan. I love that word. Hey, we're going to borrow that. Just we're going to borrow that here. You said it on the. Yeah, exactly. You said it on the show. Well, I'll give you credit. There's no doubt about that.
I wish I came up with it. I didn't. It was in a business book I read many, many years ago, and it just resonated with me, and I've used it my entire career. So I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't.
I appreciate you sharing it with us and stuff. Stick around, my friend. Jenn, I wanted to bring, because I just thought there'd be a lot of synergy here, and I appreciate that. Duncan, I'll be right back with you, my fine friend. Hey, listen, this has been great. I know this. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I know how important it is. You're one of the you're 100 most top powerful women in the world, or in the country, as it was voted. So I don't want to take full advantage of.
How crazy is that? Like, really, how crazy is that? I mean, like, I'm Jenn Lofgren, right? And to have that underneath my name, it's kind of surreal. It really is. It's like I'm just Jenn, and it's a real honor.
No, that's the women's who that voted for WXN. What is that? You're a partner with them. What is that about again?
It's Women's Executive Network. So I've been a facilitator with them for years, and actually I never imagined that I would be recognized on their top 100 list ever. Back in 2009 when I started this business, and then here I am so many years later that actually I was nominated by someone, and I said, I'm not sure if I should let my name stand. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't think I stack up amongst these other amazing women. And I remember going to the award ceremony in Toronto and meeting some of these amazing women, and one of them reminded me, she says, you know what, you're here for a reason, just like every single one of the rest of us are.
That's a little imposter syndrome showing up right there. There you
totally,
go.
Right there.
Right there. Boom. It all circles around here on this show. That's what we do here. You've had a great career to date. You have many more mountains to climb. There's no doubt about that. I'm just curious right now, thinking professionally, even personally, though. I know that you've probably had some challenges. We all do. What are you most proud of on your personal journey so far?
My most proud moment, I think there's two of them. One is graduating from post-secondary university. To go to post-secondary and graduate it took me 2 goes. And the first go was pretty rough, pretty hard, and it took a lot of courage to go back and the second time around and to find my way through it. And the second one is being a mom to a daughter that's teaching me every day. And it's the most important thing I could ever do in my life. Wow.
I can't argue with that. Hardest job in the world right there, a mom. So, hey, good for you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. The idea of, like you said, what makes you proud, family always shows up. There's no doubt about that. Always shows up. It's been a tough year, and I know you said, your business has gone through it. Everybody's business, personal. We've all had people have experienced health issues, and sometimes they even lost people in this process and businesses. So up and down for everybody. I'm wondering for you, what keeps you hopeful? What keeps you optimistic these days?
Really, it's a choice. I get to choose whether I focus on what's possible and what's next, or focusing on all the hard things that are happening. And I've had, like everyone, hard things going on this year, and my hard can't be compared with yours or anyone else's hard. Hard is hard, but I get to choose what I do with my circumstances. And I just choose to believe, maybe it's naive, But I just choose to believe that there's something better around the corner, and I get to play a part in making it happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, without, we have to have something. We have to see that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I totally know what you mean. It's you gotta go searching for it. I know for me, I have to search for things that keep me hopeful and optimistic. If you think it's going to just show up, and I think there's work there. I just think that we all need to put in a little bit of work there. That's just my own little one liner inside of that. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Not that I haven't had any so far. I don't know about you. This is fun. This is fun stuff. I love sharing the insights of great minds like yourself, and I so appreciate Duncan jumping on from the other side of the planet, which is fantastic. Technology brings us together. You know what? We never get to know people so well. You have to do in-depth research, and if you don't do in-depth research, how do you know? So you ask them. So for me, I've come up with this little thing called this or that. This or that. This or that with Jenn Lofgren. That's what we're doing today. So it's really simple. I'll list a couple things here, and you just simply pick one or the other, and it'll give me a little insight inside to that mind there that has all those degrees and credentials and all that stuff. It's going to give us a little more insight. So I should have asked you earlier, and this is not a negative thing. It's just that my liver is half English and Irish and Scottish. So do you drink alcohol before I ask this question?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I love the way you answer. Okay, let's start the easy one then. Whiskey or wine?
Oh, wine.
Wine. No whiskey. You said, oh, wine. So no whiskey at all? Don't like whiskey?
No. I'll leave that for you, Peter.
Oh, please do. Please
You
do.
look disappointed.
I would be. No, I'm not disappointed. It's just interesting. It's okay. Supergirl or Wonder Woman?
Ooh. Wonder Woman, because I can't remember completely, but I remember when I was a kid, I think I was 5 years old. That's what I wanted more than anything for Christmas. And it showed up there beside my bed on Christmas morning as the gift that we could unwrap Christmas morning beside our bed before we went down to open the rest.
That's an awesome memory. Awesome memory. Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great reason to remember that. Okay, cool. 60s music or 80s music?
80s music.
Oh yeah, it's the hair, right? See, this is like stuck in 1987 right here. Yeah,
my favorite Bon Jovi right here.
Appreciate that. There you go. Convertible or truck?
Convertible.
Oh, right. Wind blowing hair, blowing through the hair. 80s
and
music.
summers are so short in Canada.
Yeah, right. So hey, if you can put the top down in Canada, yeah, that's a good day. That's a great day. Yeah. Hey, we're going out to get a bite to eat. Chinese food or Italian food?
Sushi.
Oh, so well, no, that's Japanese. So it's either or. Duncan did this.
Oh,
it's this or that.
Italian.
Duncan did. Yeah, he did that with me too. Okay, Italian. There he goes. Because you drink wine, so red wine and Italian. Hey, can't go wrong with that, right? All day long. Yeah. I'm the same way with pasta. If you send me to an island, just send me pasta. I'm good. I'm all good to go. Travel-wise, Europe or the Caribbean?
Europe.
Why is that? Just curious.
Oh, just
because you just said about the sun and the short summers. I just thought the sun.
I know, but I love going and experiencing different cultures. And there's so many different cultures throughout all of Europe. So I think that's why I choose Europe.
Yeah, and there's obviously the history is there as well. I know from a videography and photo perspective for me, yeah, the visuals, to go to Scotland or Ireland and look at those castles. And anyway, yeah, I totally understand that. Now, I don't know which way this is going to go. I just threw it out there randomly off the top of my head here. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh. Star Trek.
Yeah?
Yeah, I watched a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think it's because it was every week, and you could just follow the characters and stories in every week that in having the regular show, not just the movies.
Yeah. With that being said, I asked this question of someone before. I'd love to hear your. Do you think is there life on other planets? Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
I mean, not in our soul, but I'm just talking about in the galaxy in general, maybe in the universe. Do you think there's life somewhere?
There's got to be.
Right. Just the numbers.
There's just got to be. I can't imagine that we're so unique. We're the only place that any life exists is on this wee little blue ball.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why, again, tying it in with the Star Trek idea and so on. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
So you morning person though? Do you like getting up early?
I like getting up early. I like the mornings, but I've got so many wonderful memories with sunsets.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, you're going to talk leadership right now. You're going to spend a day with somebody. We're going to send you a day talking leadership with Angela Merkel, leader of Germany, or Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook.
Angela Merkel. Just
Why
the
that?
incredible complexity of what countries are dealing with right now.
Right. I no disrespect to Sheryl, but I'm just saying, like, that's for me, that's my answer too. But I asked you, so that's cool. But no right or wrong here. No right or wrong. How about this one? Hope or freedom?
Hope. Because even if your freedom's taken away, nobody can take away hope.
Very true. I mean, you know, the old saying, right? I think what the 3 weeks a person can live 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air, but not 3 seconds without hope. Not 3 seconds.
And I can control hope. I can't always control freedom.
Oh, I like that. Now, I haven't heard that before. I can control hope, but I can't control freedom. I like that. I never heard it said like that before. Finish this sentence for me here. I love my life because...
I love my life because of my 𝗡cie sandwich, my husband, and my daughter.
That's the mic drop right there. That's the reason. You're wearing it. You're wearing it.
I'm wearing it. Here they are.
Yeah, I love that. I love that piece, by the way. I love the story now. Now we know the story, which is...
Now you know the story.
It's super cool. I love that. It comes circled all the way around here, circled all the way around. I so appreciate you sharing all that with us. I knew this was going to be an awesome show. There's so many comments that are coming in about you. It's just so fantastic. So I just want to throw up a couple more for you, okay? Because I just want to make sure. Peter 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Peter, you know what? I'm going to do something for you that this is the first right here for you, just for you, Jen, right? He's been on here sending all kinds of amazing comments and so on. Watch this. Watch technology. See if it works right now. If technology works. Watch this.
Okay.
See if technology works. See if you like this.
Hello.
Peter 𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Hey.
How are you? It's Peter Clarke. I know you're out there.
Well.
I know you're out there watching. I appreciate you watching and stuff like that, and all your comments and so on. So thank you for doing that. And I just saw how many comments you're putting up here for Jen in this conversation. So we appreciate that. Hey, good to finally chat with you. We've never talked before, by the way, Jen. This is the first time I come.
No.
So Peter, I know you're a big fan of Duncan, who was on the show, as you probably saw as well, which is fantastic. And so Duncan, me interviewing Duncan another time, Jen, was how Peter found out about me, and we've connected and so on LinkedIn and so on. So Peter, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a big supporter of the show and putting up all kinds of comments. Before we finish off the show, I'm just thinking you might have listen, we got Jen right here, the master coach right here. Do you have a question about anything that we talked about today, or anything that jumped out at you that you might want to share?
Yeah, one of the top items that I always find curious is there's always a lot of programs and information articles on what makes a great leader, what makes an acceptable leader, what are the traits. Jen touched on a few of them. Duncan is a spectacular leader. I had the pleasure of being in his audience a few times, and you always learn. But what really is the top trait of a good leader, and why?
Top trait, Jen. So he's asking top trait of a leader and why.
Letting go. Letting go, I think, would be the top trait of letting go of being liked, being right, being in control, and why? So that you make room for other people to step up and be leaders next.
Yeah. So when you say let go, I'm just sorry. My brain was moving somewhere else. It's a small room up here, so it shouldn't be too far from me now. But so say that again. I'm sorry. Just say that again for me. Maybe letting go of what? What are we letting
go of? Being right, letting go of being liked, and letting go of being in control. So if I'm focused on being right, I'm not going to be listening. I'm going to be so entrenched in my own thoughts. If I'm focused on being liked and I can't let that go, then I might not have the hard conversations with you that I need to. And if I am focused on being in control all of the time, then I can't make decisions. I can't move things forward because I can get into paralysis. I can get into perfecting things for the sake of perfecting things, or I can end up getting into autocratic mode and not getting the most out of everyone else around me and having things rely only on me and being the bottleneck. I really think the crux is being able to let a lot of things go so that I can lead and I can collaborate with everyone else and everything else around me.
Yeah, love that, Peter. And Peter is throwing in a couple. He loves these the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I think that was that's Duncan's. I love that.
Yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Right. That was cool. No, I appreciate you picking up on that as well. And see, he likes the invisible jet too. Just so you know, Jen. So you obviously picked that, and Merkel all the way. Agree 100% with that. Duncan just chimed in about the quality for Peter. The quality that he thinks is the ability to listen. What do you think of that, Jen, from Duncan?
Yeah, I think that's the mirror side of letting go of being right is embracing listening, and not just listening and nodding your head, but listening from a place of curiosity and learning an assumption that I don't know.
Right, you don't know. Having the guts and courage to say that. Peter, my fine friend, I'm so glad you picked up the phone because I just tried that. I was thinking.
Pleasure, not a problem. Great to be part of the show and speaking with you all. It's a true pleasure.
Oh, listen, my friend, we'll chat another time soon, Peter, and we're going to have to carry on these conversations just like Duncan. It's such a privilege for me to be able to use technology to bring us all together and have these conversations. So I super appreciate you being here with us. Okay. Thank you for your question. And thanks for all the comments that are put in LinkedIn. Super appreciate your engagement here today. Okay, my friend.
Pleasure. Keep up the great work, Peter.
Thank you, my fine friend. We'll talk to you again. Cheers. There you go. Hey, so cool is that? That's technology.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's just technology right there. So, hey, letting go, that's amazing. I think that LinkedIn user, believe it or not, could be my spouse, Renuka, just so you know. Sometimes her thing, user ID doesn't come up. So I think that's probably her because I can tell by the language there, right there. So it's all good. Oh, this could be someone else though. Being right, being in control, being liked. That's a big boom, Peter. Oh yeah, that's a boom right there. You're right. It deserves a boom right there. It's a big boom. Just a giant boom right there. I love that. So that's really cool. And it, just to so everyone knows, it's sponsorship wise, we're always talking looking for sponsors to the show. And Renuka, my fine wife, reminded me of today. This show today is actually sponsored by Renuka.
Thank you, Renuka.
Without her support and love, there's none of this going on. I'm telling you right now. So that's my key sponsorship right there. Is my beautiful wife, Renuka Mohan. Jenn Lofgren. How awesome has this been to speak with you for me? It has been a pleasure to speak with you. I hope you had fun. Did you have fun?
I had fun. Any opportunity to spend some time talking with you is amazing. And you've blown me away. You brought in Duncan, you brought in Peter, you asked all kinds of crazy questions. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, the crazy questions comes easy because they come from here. So it's a little crazy in there. I so appreciate your expertise. I appreciate you sharing everything you've done. Again, I want to throw up your LinkedIn profile so everyone knows how to connect with you and your business, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, everybody, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. So let me just put that up on the bottom here for you about 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. There it is a little bit. That's how you spell that beautiful little thing. And there's the website, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. So you can check out a little bit more about Jenn and what her services are, specifically some of the workshops that are coming up. So there's still some workshops coming up, virtual workshops. So go there and check that out. I wish you great success in the future. Super appreciate you being here. And it's just been a pleasure to chat with you. I learn so much every time I talk to smarter people than me, which is actually easy to find, just so you know.
I don't buy it at all.
Oh, that's true.
When I catch up with you.
It's easy to find. It's easy to find. So thanks everyone for being here. I can't think of it. I'm going to end the show with a quick little video. I want to talk to you on the other end, on the other side, Jenn. So stick around. I'm going to end with a quick little video of we talked, I think I might have mentioned to you earlier, but I had the pleasure of going to meet Richard Branson. When you talked about meeting people in the eye and stuff like that, I mean, he's the kind of guy that actually, when I said to him, hey, I've never tried ginger beer before, and he was holding one, he goes, here, try it. And let me try it. That's pre-COVID stuff, right? But I mean, this is the real deal kind of guy. So I'll play us out with a quick little video of our trip to Necker Island, chatting with and meeting up with him. And there's leadership right there. If you talk about, for me, I just love the brand. I love his story. What can you say about that? So Jenn, good luck to everything. We'll do this again, I hope. Yeah, we'll do something like this. Just jumping in and jumping out, right? We can do those calls all day long. So appreciate that. Everybody else, thanks for watching here on LinkedIn and Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, anything else you can find out there. And as I always say, as we end these shows, you know what? Just be kind out there, everybody. How about that? Just be kind. Let's do it that. See you on the other side, Jenn. Great to see you.
Thank you.
See you. Take care. Thanks, Duncan. And thanks, Peter, as well. Boom. There you go. See you on the other side.